Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is Monday. It's Monday now. It is 12:30 in the morning. So it's officially WrestleMania's done and over with. And
Thank the Lord.
I guess. I mean,
It's just a lot of wrestling this weekend.
yeah, I guess. And this is going to be our review. If you didn't hear our night one review, you can check that out. It's on Anchor. It's on everything. I also put it up on YouTube. So if for some reason you want to listen to the podcast, it is on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
That did take a while to upload, but it is there in its entirety. If you're new here, obviously be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Helps us out. Leave a rating if you're on Apple, and follow us over on Twitter. And again, just check out
Subscribe to the YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube. And also just go check out the review of Night 1. And then this coming week we'll have our normal schedule with Dynamite review on Wednesday and Impact on Thursday, since Impact's now on Thursday. So, yes, that is that. We had another night of WrestleMania here, obviously. This was night 2. Were you looking forward to night 2 more than night 1, at least after last night's show?
Well, first off, since we haven't introduced ourselves, I'm Ryan.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's my bad. Whoops. Yeah, and spoiler, I'm still the Deep Six champion. I did retain at WrestleMania. Pretty dominating performance in our predictions challenge.
Yeah, congrats, bud.
Yeah, I am officially still the champ. I am pretty happy that I got to retain at WrestleMania. It's a big win.
Yeah.
I'm Pat, so yes. All right. Anyway, thoughts? Were you excited for night 2? Looking forward to it?
I don't know if I was looking forward to it more. I'd say probably on the same level. There were the 2 final matches I was looking forward to. Even though I didn't know they were going to be the final 2 back-to-back there. Owens and Zayn I was looking forward to. And Apollo and Big E I was interested in what would happen. Because I wanted to see what a Nigerian drum fight would be.
Fair enough.
We'll get to that. But the rest of the card, I didn't care about the women's tag titles. I didn't care about Riddle and Sheamus, and I didn't care about The Fiend versus Orton. I feel like I'm probably very vocal about my displeasure for this whole feud.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm missing a match after that.
No, I think you got everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, after coming out of night 1, again, I didn't have real expectations. It's been a year since most of us have watched a WWE show, besides the Rumble. But none of us have watched Raw or SmackDown really at all for the last year or so. And so we've kind of just been out of it. We've all been focusing on AEW, New Japan, and Impact. So, the card, for both nights had some interesting matches. I thought night 1, again, we came out of night 1. I think all of us were pretty positive about it. It was a pretty enjoyable show,
Except Joey.
Yeah, except Joey. Minus the rain delay at the beginning of the show. I think we all came out of it agreeing that it was pretty good stuff. And then coming in tonight, I think obviously there was a bit more hesitation with 2 of the matches on the card, specifically the women's tag titles with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Tamina and Natalya, because as we stated last night, this was a match that did not really seem like anybody would care about it, and that kind of rang true for the most part for that match. And the Fiend versus Randy Orton was something that I think we were all kind of dreading, and I think rightfully so with what we got. Thankfully for us and for WWE, there was no rain delay tonight. So the show did end earlier than last night. So I am thankful for that, at least.
Yeah. I don't think any match went too long or anything like that.
No, the longest match was the main event, and everything else
which was a longer main event than the other night, but not by much.
Yeah, everything else was under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, let's just get things started. Let's get the ball rolling here, and we'll see how this goes. The show opened. We had some country singer today for America the Beautiful. They
The new
dubbed her,
face.
yeah,
of
the new
country.
face of country. We got the exact same video package from night one with the Jack Sparrow impersonator, but now there was footage from night one cut in with
Oh,
it.
yeah. I was gonna say you also forgot that throughout the country singer's performance, they were throwing in last night's videos of last night of the superstars on
On
stage,
the stage. Yeah, it was very,
which I thought
it
was
very
weird.
strange. And like like at the bottom of the screen it said last night, so it was very, very strange.
Yeah.
And then we got I hate that video package. I hated it last year with WrestleMania, the Quarantine Mania. I hated it this year. It was not funny.
No.
It lacked. It only was worse the second time around this year.
Technically, the fourth time.
Yeah, but the second
Yes.
time this year. So.
Yeah.
And after that, what an opening to this show we had. The WrestleMania Pirate theme song played, and out came Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan, obviously the co-hosts of WrestleMania, but not like we saw them last night. Last night they were just there once. They came out as themselves with their own theme songs. This time the pirate music should have been an indication. They both came out dressed as pirates, and this started the show off on such a bad note for me. Titus, absolute champ for doing this. I will never hate on Titus O'Neil. Hulk Hogan, thankfully, the crowd very openly booed him anytime he started speaking. And it was significantly louder than the first night, I would say.
Yes. Yeah, it was audible anytime the man opened his mouth. There was very audible boos being sent his way.
Yeah, so
which love to see that.
good job, Florida. You did one thing right.
Yeah. I guess this would be a good time to point out that yet again, and I would say more predominantly than the night before, there were no masks in the front row for most of this show.
Yeah, the
Like
security.
last night we mentioned that like at least not around like the front row, at least except behind commentary. Almost everybody was wearing masks. This time around, like people at the entrance ramp were not wearing masks. People on the hard cam weren't wearing masks. Nobody behind commentary was wearing masks, including a bunch of people who were clearly there to do advertising for Maestros. There were, and like almost any time that they panned to like groups of crowd, there were no masks in sight. And
I wouldn't say
then
no mask. I would say a lack of masks.
yeah, that's what I meant. It's like that you would see a few to a lot of people without masks.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I guess after the show, WWE put out a press release, or during the show, saying how masks were mandated throughout the arena, throughout the facilities. Nope. And also that everybody was socially distant through pods. Nope, definitely not. So again, I'm going to continue to say this. I think that more tickets were sold than that were let on, because there's no way that whole everybody was socially distant in socially distant pods holds up for especially the people on the floor, because you could clearly see everybody was grouped together. Like there were no gaps in seats in between people.
Yeah. If you're gonna rag on WWE for one thing this weekend, 100%, it's the lack of care about the masks. And again,
Which sucks
social
because
distancing.
like I gave Vince credit, I gave the main roster credit for this, and then I guess since the other shit thing that I'm going to give for COVID stuff for WWE is apparently these COVID ads that WWE is running. Apparently they're running them on SmackDown as well, and like it keeps on saying like plan your vaccine or whatever, but people are linking, like posting on Twitter and social media, and there's also news articles about it, that apparently it takes you to a place that it gives you the pros and cons of vaccines, and it gives you it's like something like choose if you want a vaccine, and it's not like what they're saying, like, oh, you like plan your vaccine. It's like choose if you really want a vaccine. You're choose if you do, choose if you don't, things like that. Which people are ragging on WWE for, like, running things like plan your vaccine if it's not actually a pro-vaccine site. Which, yeah.
Yeah, that's I would say that's another fair critique. Anyway, we will also, before we get into the actual card here, we might as well do the announcement for Boomer of the Week for last week and for this week. We're giving it. Last week we are giving it to Ryan. I'll let you take care of this. This is your thing.
Yep, and we'll also run down a quick standings since we haven't done that a bit. But Boomer of the Week, who just is, if you haven't listened to us before, it's basically who we think is done the stupidest, most ridiculous boomer type acting. And this week, or the week of April 4th, so April 4th to April 10th, was probably our closest one yet. We actually, everybody in our group voted. It came down to the final vote, which was Jake. And the three people that were nominated for it were Jake himself, because the man fell asleep, or decided to leave from watching WrestleMania at the main event because he thought it would be too long for him, which that's boomerish. We had Michael Cole for botching the main event pinfall announcement, and Hulk Hogan, and winning by 3 votes to 2 votes to 2 votes. It was Hulk Hogan getting the win, which I think well deserved. And then in a resounding unanimous vote today, Hulk Hogan for dancing later on in the show, which was god-awful, and his pirate talk, and dressing like a pirate, won Boomer of the Week this week. And you can say, well, Titus did that. Titus is a goofy character, he's a comedic character, and he's not a fumbling racist.
Yeah, we don't hate Titus O'Neil.
Titus O'Neil is a goddamn treasure.
Exactly. So he kind of he has something that we care about, and so we're not going to give him a dumb award for doing dumb stuff like this.
Yeah, because it fits him. And you can say, oh, well, Hulk's a goofy character. Yeah, but nobody likes Hulk Hogan. You can clearly see it, and also, goddamn, those dance moves were god-awful. So Hulk Hogan has moved into a tie for second place after not having a single point.
I do want to say, if we reviewed Raw this year, Hogan would have already been on it for that one for the opening of Legends Night where they did the cold open with the Hulk phone.
God. Oh yeah.
Don't forget about that.
I thought that was last year, honestly.
No, that was January.
Oh, so our standings are good old JR is in first place with 3 points. Hulk Hogan with 2 points is tied with Matt Stryker, commentator for Impact, if you don't know why Matt Stryker is still relevant in 2021. And then the rest of the card is Jerry Lawler, Jerry Lynn, Chris Jericho, all of AEW, Tommy Dreamer, Cody Rhodes, D'Lo Brown, Johnny Swinger, and Austin Aries. All with 1 point. JR still clings on to his lead.
I don't see him losing it for a while.
I don't know, man. Matt Stryker exists still.
That is a true point. You and Angelo seem to really be souring on him.
It's weird because every time we mention something that, like, we're like, oh, well, at least he's not doing this, the next week he goes and does that. So yeah. Yeah, moving on to our first match.
Yeah, our first match of the night was, they did announce this before the show, it was going to be The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Randy Orton came out in all-white gear, which I do want to say
It looked nice.
It looked nice. I feel like all white gear typically looks nice on most people, and it's definitely something that you don't really see for Randy. He's always typically like in black. So pretty cool.
I
And
thought the
then,
other interesting thing about this, I think it made sense to do this first.
absolutely, if this was anywhere else on the card, it would have killed the rest of the show.
Yeah, my reasoning for this is probably not the same reasoning that you're saying this, but I thought that you want to have a big name for it, and I don't think anybody on this card was as big of a name other than the main event people than Randy Orton.
I
And
would argue
Randy,
I would argue the Fiend as well. The Fiend,
yeah,
like
Randy Orton will get cheered. He could be the biggest heel in the company, and he still gets cheered by the fans.
I mean, hey man, the Fiend got like one of the biggest reactions of the entire night when he showed up.
No, I would say the person that rivals that is Alexa Bliss, because it's Alexa Bliss. She got a huge ass pop.
The Fiend, when he came out of the box, the place went nuts.
Yeah,
I think it's just that he has a cool like look, and his music's really good.
yeah.
So even
And
if
he
people
had
don't like the character,
he did have a really interesting entrance.
yeah. So
I
Randy
enjoyed the entrance thoroughly.
Randy comes out, and then Alexa Bliss comes down the ring doing like the Firefly Funhouse gimmick, and then there's a giant Jack in the Box at ringside, and
That they didn't show, which I thought was really cool. That they
Yeah.
did not show that.
And so she wound up the box, and then the Fiend popped out of the top. Or sorry,
No.
the top opened up and there was a pentagram. Then the Fiend's entrance music hit, and he slowly rose out of it as the whole like arena was basked in the red light. There was also drone usage here as the arena turned to red. There was drones up in the sky that were lit up white that faded to red, saying "Let me in." I thought the Fiend had a really cool looking entrance. I will say that.
Yeah, I would argue that he had the one of the best entrances, probably top two entrance of the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, we also before the Jack in the Box thing, we saw the Fiend
Oh yeah,
walking through a light tunnel, and he was his burned self, and then lasers or something turned him back into the regular Fiend, but now he has like a like a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, and when I said that, I pointed this out. I was like, "Oh, well, maybe we're gonna get fire, and he's protecting himself against fire." I think it's to try to limit the damage on him, so like he doesn't Bray doesn't take like hits much, like it won't feel as bad, and I guess that will help him no sell stuff because he did take some hard shots, like him getting rammed into the announce table. That would hurt even in just like your trying to no sell that would be hard to do. And I think the multiple layers help, but I also think it's maybe was protection in case fire happened, but fire wasn't involved in this.
No, there was fire.
Not on him.
No, not on him. At the beginning of the match, Bray, the Fiend, whatever you want to call him, did the Brody pose where he did like the kissing of the hands and putting him out. So nice little tribute to Brody Lee that Bray got to do here.
Yeah.
Then to start the match, he literally just leaped off of the Jack in the Box with a clothesline. And this, as the bell rang, we got the official thing here that the red lighting was here for the rest of the match the entire time. It's back. I thought we escaped this. Unfortunately, that was not the case.
It looks it looks kind of cool. It must suck to watch.
Yeah, I don't like the way it looks even. So I just think it's too much.
Like if you had it draped on just the ring, maybe I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but
Alexa, the whole crowd is a bit much. You can say, yeah.
Yeah, Alexa disappeared from ringside as this began, and then the Fiend basically just dominated the entire match. And then while he was in the ring going for Sister Abigail, the top of the Jack in the Box opened up, and Alexa Bliss was sitting on top of it now as black goo rushed down her face. She was just like, it looked like she was like Ric Flair or like Cody Rhodes doing a blade job, but with black blood coming out of her.
Yeah, she had some weird like tiara thing around her head, and that was squirting the black goo out, and it looked disgusting, and it made me. I was like, this is awful, especially because you're partnered up with this person, and for some reason, the Fiend is distracted by this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was the story here, was that she distracted the Fiend. That was very clearly what happened.
Yeah.
No idea what this was. I wouldn't say it looked disgusting. It just looked like something. Randy Orton hit one RKO and won the match in 6 minutes.
And so what we learned out of this match is that this Alexa Bliss Fiend storyline is never going to end. And also, the RKO is 14 times more powerful than a curb stomp?
Yeah, the Hell in a Cell match between Bray and Rollins. Rollins hit 14 curb stomps, and it wasn't enough to keep the Fiend down, but one RKO puts him down.
Yeah, it wasn't like this. And that what you call it. Also, if the Bray versus Seth match was much longer, and also involved various weapons and stuff too, and that couldn't put him down.
Yeah, I thought this was an abysmal start to WrestleMania. The only benefit here, it was 6 minutes, so it was really short. But my God, this started off very sour taste in my mouth to kick off the night.
Yeah, I've got to say, who the fuck does this benefit? Like, it doesn't benefit with Bray. I think it kills all momentum of the Fiend. He just comes back and immediately loses because he's watching Alexa shoot black goo over her head. And Randy doesn't need a win because he's Randy Orton and can just do whatever. This was pointless. And also, it got rid of probably my favorite thing about the Fiend recently, in being his new burned look. I thought the effects and everything, and the visual of the burned Fiend looked absolutely amazing. Especially, like, they did close-in shots of it, like, during the video package, and just the amount of detail they went in for it was disgustingly gorgeous, and to get rid of it this quickly is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I had nothing else to say on this one. After the match, Randy left, Alexa left. The Fiend was just stood in the ring, visibly upset. The lights went out. The lights came back on.
No, Alexa stayed.
Oh, she was still there, dude.
They disappeared together, which makes no sense.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, the lights went out for an extended period of time, and then they were both gone. And then the camera lingered on the ring, and the crowd just started pouring down with boos. Rightfully so. This was awful.
Yeah. Last point about this is I love the WWE fans who are trying to defend this, saying that that the character's story has been phenomenal, that this was just the WWE creative not knowing what to do and not realizing that the fans like the Fiend. The WWE 100% knows that people like the Fiend. He is one of their top merch people. They look at merchandise sales a lot because it gives them money.
Yeah, and my argument against that would be more in the sense of, if you're going to say that, like, WWE is doing a great job with this story and everything's been so enthralling and they deserve praise for this, you shouldn't praise them for an unfinished story. You have to go the full distance and see how this plays out. And if this is how this plays out, even if there's more to it, this was awful. This is your biggest show of the year and you do this.
Yeah, and again, Bray Wyatt at Mania does not get what he deserves.
Yeah, but to be fair, there was nothing that hey man, last year he got what he deserved. Him and Cena were great together.
Yeah, but fans didn't get to see that.
I mean, we got to see it at home and it was good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We went backstage for another segment with Hogan and Titus, and they were joined by Eric Bischoff. Bayley showed up. And this was just them talking about 83 weeks for some reason. They kind of worked in some of the Hall of Famers on this show. very confused why we got basically just like a random advertisement for 83 weeks. Like they continually kept saying 83 weeks throughout this. Like,
or talking about they didn't say like 83 weeks until the end. They kept on saying the podcast, your podcast. I hope we can be on your podcast sometime, and then just ignoring Bailey.
This was bizarre.
Yeah.
We got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Tamina and Natalya for the women's tag titles. One would have hoped that they would have put something after the Fiend to wipe away the stink, but
no.
I mean, props to WWE for positioning the worst two matches on the card back to back. Because I mean, to be fair, the show was only on an upswing after this, but this was the first 45 minutes to an hour of this show were so rough.
Yeah.
I thought this was another just a horrible match. Nia Jax is a terrible wrestler. Tamina has had moments in the past where she's done some good things, but Nia Jax and Tamina, anytime they were in the ring, it was a sloppy mess of a match. They had terrible chemistry. Natalya and Shayna, who are pretty good wrestlers, they couldn't even save this. There was a brutal spot where Shayna just kneed Natty right in the face, and it looked like she just killed her.
Well, I think that was kind of it. At least to me, it looked like Shayna was trying to get back at Tamina, who had just completely fucked up a super kick on Shayna and caught her like right in the chin and throat area. And I guess her trying to like get revenge, I guess, was on Natty, which sucks for Natty. But like, if your teammate's gonna work stiff as fuck and not know what to do, then I guess. This was awful. Every minute of this match was awful. There was no redeeming spots. Natalya proves that she doesn't know how wrestling works because she clearly saw a tag. She could clearly see the ref saying that Nia is not the legal person. And then she decided, oh, well, I'll just sit in the middle of the ring with a sharpshooter put in. Which cost her team the match because Shayna came in, put her in the rear naked choke, 1, 2, 3, basically making her fall asleep. And she doesn't tap, which is weird considering Tamina and Natty are heels. Why are we giving Natty like this strong, like I could survive thing? But I don't care about the tag titles anymore. Never have, never will. Yes.
Yeah. I thought this was just awful from start to finish. Nia and Shayna won. Sure. I have no idea who's taking these titles off of them, and frankly,
I've already said I've been very vocal who I've been saying who's going to take them off them.
Who?
The Bella Twins.
Sure. Why not at this point? The Bellas are more... I mean, Nikki Bella is more entertaining than Nia Jax and Shayna together by herself. Yeah. Brie I don't like, but Nikki's good. And, hey, Shayna Baszler's a good wrestler, but her and Nia I don't care about.
Correct.
Anywho, that was that. From here, again, show is on an upswing, so all of the just genuine negativity will be gone. There's still going to be negative parts about this, but
yeah,
it's not all awful from here. But yeah, again, night one blew this out of the water as a whole just because of that first hour.
Yeah.
After this, we got Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn came out first, and then he introduced Logan Paul. Sure, Logan Paul was here. I feel like I was expecting him to be more prominent or to do something more, but for the most part he kind of just sat at ringside and they just cut to him for reaction shots like Mike Tyson in AEW that one time.
Yeah, weird part about this was so Sammy got hit by a move and they panned over to Logan Paul who looked like he was just sleeping and according to Michael Cole to like I guess explain what was going on. He was like, oh, the shot was so hard that Kevin did that it knocked out Logan Paul.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear, like seeing how Logan Paul was tonight compared to how Bad Bunny's been for his whole run. You can clearly see that Bad Bunny's a wrestling fan and Logan Paul does not give a shit. So
Yeah. We also basically got a heel and face turn out of Logan Paul in one
that was
night.
at the end of the match. The actual match itself with Owens and Zayn, it was only 10 minutes, but yeah, I mean, you give 10 minutes to Sammy and Kevin, you know you're going to get something good. I wish this was longer because this was great. This was just
Yes.
fast paced from the very start. Literally started with a pop up power bomb, and from there it was just literally just big move after big move. Sami Zayn hit like a big brain buster to Kevin Owens right on the apron, which is pretty cool. There's a Michinoku driver that Michael Cole called the Blue Thunder Bomb because, as Ryan pointed out while we were watching, that's just Cole's thing now.
Yeah. I don't think that there's many big shows where Sammy pulls that out and Michael Cole is commentating his match and gets that right. He almost always will get that wrong. Thankfully, Corey Graves called him out for it, and then later in the match when he actually hit the Blue Thunder Bomb, Cole was like, "And that's a Blue Thunder Bomb this time." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Cole."
Yeah. We did again. This was literally just like the definition of a sprint for 10 minutes. It was just nonstop action.
Yes.
Owens went for his top rope splash. That got a 2 count. He went for the package pile driver. Sami Zayn countered it with an exploder suplex. Sami went for the haluva kick. Owens tried to counter it with a stunner. Sami countered that, hit the Blue Thunder Bomb for a 2 count. We got strikes in the middle. Eventually, Sami did hit a haluva kick, and before he was able to go for another one, he kind of just like held Owens below him, very clearly like playing at their history as best friends and whatnot. But eventually he did go for another haluva kick, but Owens, obviously with the time that was in between this, it allowed him to counter with a super kick. And then finally Owens got him with the stunner and pinned Sami Zayn in about 10 minutes. I thought this was
This
a
was
really solid
fantastic.
match. Yeah, this was the Cesaro and Seth Rollins match from last night, basically, where it was 10 minutes of just an absolute sprint from start to finish, with two of your best like in ring workers on the show. So, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I'm all for more. Like you can say like, oh, like was this a Mania level feud? Probably not, but it's a Mania quality match, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've had Sammy versus Kevin at Mania. Correct?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
So I'm all for that because I feel like like you. I think people, especially casuals, do not understand how good these guys are because, especially Sammy, because he's in this weird, basically, everything's a conspiracy. I'm super cowardly heel role, whereas, like if you especially if you haven't been watching the product and don't know that Sami Zayn is actually an incredible wrestler, you'd probably be like, why was this? Why should I care about this match? But yeah, their history alone, just give them like have them be like the Stone Cold and Rock of this era, and just have them go back at it every so often because they're phenomenal together.
Yeah. Again, I really don't think these guys could ever do anything wrong, and Logan Paul didn't do anything to ruin this. So,
No.
again, this was really, really good stuff for 10 minutes. It was just literally just the most fast paced thing on the entire show.
Yeah. After this, Logan Paul gets in the ring, and basically looks at Sammy and immediately goes over to Kevin to raise his hand. And Sammy comes over. He's like, I thought we were friends. I brought you here. And Logan just like grabs Sammy and pushes him on the ground, and then goes back to Kevin to raise his hand again. And then the crowd starts. The crowd audibly was just all booing Logan Paul when he touched Sammy, which great. And then when they kept on, like, there were people chanting stun him, stun him, and then he hit the stunner on Logan Paul. Crowd went crazy, and he walked out. Owens walked out, and then they come to Logan Paul, who's being helped out of the ring. And he's like, I think it was like, why did you do that? That hurt, or something like that. He says, and Yeah. I hope that we don't ever have Logan Paul back, but I said this in the car on the way home today that I think that this is going to lead to Sammy and Kevin versus the Paul brothers at SummerSlam.
I'm not so certain of that one. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Logan Paul back, but who knows. I do want to say his sell of the stunner that Owens gave to him after the match, I thought it made up for him being there. It is pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't the greatest sell of a stunner, but for somebody who doesn't care, I don't think, about wrestling, and isn't trained for wrestling, I think that it was pretty good.
We went backstage and we got Riddle, scooting around on his scooter backstage, and who does he run into but the Great Khali and the Great Khali's old manager, Ranjin Singh.
Oh, I'm glad he brought his name back up.
Yeah, I had to look that one up.
Good.
I didn't want to just say the Great Khali and some guy.
Is his manager.
I literally did not know that guy's name.
I didn't know so.
Anywho, Great Khali's showing off his Hall of Fame ring, and then Riddle tries to pitch him opening some type of shop of some kind. RVD walks in to basically save this segment from just being nothing. And RVD is basically serving as a translator for Great Khali, and says, basically, instead of Riddle opening up a shop, RVD just gets to promote his own brand of rolling papers. If you told me that RVD would get to promote his brand of rolling papers on WrestleMania, I don't even know if I would have thought that was a real thing, but this happened.
Man goes from getting the goddamn world title stripped from him because he got caught smoking weed with Sabu to getting on WrestleMania and getting to promote marijuana.
What a guy.
Worst part about this whole segment, Matt Riddle. Best part about this segment, everybody other than Matt Riddle.
Yeah. Again, I haven't watched Raw really. I've seen some highlights or lowlights, I guess, of Riddle promos and with his puns and stuff. Awful. He used to be doing the bro nuts thing where he was going around selling donuts and calling them bro nuts.
The worst part about this was he decided to act like we didn't know who RVD was. He's like, "Hey everyone, look who it is! It's RVD!" And then RVD's trying to do his catchphrase, the RVD, and Matt Riddle gets up in front of him and does it.
Dude, Matt Riddle is supposed to be a babyface, and he's the most obnoxious person on the roster. And I get that's the character, but it's so bad.
Yeah. I will continue to say that WWE does not understand how to do stoner gimmicks.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair.
At least Impact treated the Rascals.
Hey man, right. I don't think MSK's gimmick is that they're stoners, but they're being treated right in NXT.
Yes. No, I think their gimmick is just we're goofy.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
This sent us to Matt Riddle versus Sheamus for the U.S. Championship. Sheamus didn't have anything special, just had the AR thing saying Celtic Warrior. Matt Riddle comes into the ring to kick off his flip-flops, and instead of the colored parrots from Raw, he now has
Seagulls with pirate
hats. Yep, that fly towards the screen. What in the I really do not get the correlation from Riddle, the stoner, to birds.
So I saw people online talking about the colored birds, and apparently that being a thing about peacock. Apparently
they weren't peacocks.
Apparently they were talking about peacock or something.
I think that's a stretch.
Yeah. This had nothing to do with peacock because peacock has nothing to do with seagulls with pirate hats.
I have no idea, and it shouldn't if you're going to do something like this, the fans shouldn't have to guess why it's happening. It should make sense. Whatever you're doing, it should make sense. Absolutely no idea. Yeah. Anywho, I thought this was a really solid match. I enjoyed this quite a bit. There was only one part of the match that I thought that took away from it, and it was the botch that Ryan immediately pointed out to us while we were watching, which was for the white noise.
Super white noise, or avalanche white noise, whatever you want to call it. But either, I don't know if Sheamus slipped or if he just, like, or if he was losing his grip on Riddle and tried to save it from, like, him dropping him. But it looked like he forgot to drop Riddle because he just comes off the top rope like he was going to hit it, and then he doesn't hit it, and then he turns around and then tries to hit, and then like goes to hit it, and he doesn't. It was very weird, very awkward segment. But other than that,
this was really good. Yeah, Sheamus is a great worker. He always has been, and Riddle, regardless of what your personal opinion is of him and everything, the guy's a super talented wrestler.
I would say yes to that, but he has had some meh matches.
I mean, I liked everything he did in NXT for the most part. And as far as singles matches on main roster, I haven't really seen much of them.
Yeah.
But this I thought was really good. I thought him and Sheamus are kind of tailor-made for each other, just working like very stiff and aggressively. And that's what this was, straight up. We got a... I thought it was the brogue kick early on that got kick out, but it wasn't. Apparently it was a flying knee that Sheamus now does. That was pretty cool. Riddle hit a jackhammer for a near fall.
Billy has to love that.
I'm glad he's incorporated it into his moveset.
I really hope this leads to a Bill Goldberg versus Riddle match.
I would love to see him get to beat Bill Goldberg. I don't want to see Goldberg wrestle, but it would be great to see Riddle get a win over him.
Yeah. Because Goldberg literally seems like he just doesn't understand Matt Riddle and decided, like, I'm just going to hate on this guy because he called me bro.
Yeah, basically. Riddle went for the rear naked choke. Sheamus fought out of it. Then, obviously, they went up to the top turnbuckle, and that's where the white noise spot happened. And I thought this had an absolute great finish where Matt Riddle went for like the springboard moonsault and Sheamus caught him with a brogue kick and he clocked him on the jaw. Sheamus won off this, and as Riddle came up, his mouth was just pouring blood out.
The only downfall about this was then Corey Graves made a joke about him, or I think it was Corey Graves. Or no, it wouldn't have been because this is a Raw, right? Or what,
this is a Raw match.
So somebody made a joke about him being concussed, and again, I understand the whole like, oh, it's a head injury, like he's bleeding and stuff, and we used to not take it seriously in the older days. You can't make jokes about concussions anymore. Like you shouldn't, like the whole I've always had this issue in wrestling for the last few years where people are like, oh, he's glossy-eyed, now's the time to take advantage. No, like if somebody's glossy-eyed, you don't, and like doesn't know where they are, you don't like take advantage of that. Somebody should, if the ref sees it, they're supposed to take action on it. And just kind of making light of concussion policies in today's day is fucking stupid. And that's my rant about bad tasting jokes about concussions in wrestling.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I thought this was a really solid match. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I really like Sheamus as a wrestler, and Riddle I thought did really well here too.
This is better than I thought it was going to be.
Great news here is that Riddle no longer is champion, and Sheamus gets this. And what I would assume is going to happen moving forward now that Drew has lost to Lashley is that we're probably going to get Sheamus versus Drew for the U.S. title, which should be really good.
Yeah.
That should be a good program for the spring and like summer.
Yeah. Somebody pointed out that earlier this week, I guess, Sheamus took a picture of every single title he's ever held in WWE, as well as his King of the Ring and Money in the Bank briefcase, and took a picture of him holding all of them. Somebody was like, oh, now he can add another title to it because it's a different U.S. title.
U.S. title, yeah, that's true.
So that's cool. And I love Sheamus. Sheamus is great.
We got
considering that, like, I feel like it was a few years ago that, like, there were thoughts that Sheamus was going to have to retire early.
Yeah, I think that was like in 2019.
Yeah, definitely is great to see that he's still firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, had one of the best matches of the night.
Yeah.
We got a video that I when this first started, I thought we were getting like a impromptu performance from Bad Bunny at WrestleMania. That's what it kind of appeared to be. It was Triple H holding a briefcase. Bad Bunny showed up with like the truck, and Triple H gave him the briefcase. Said, "You did great at WrestleMania, but now it's time to do your thing." And Bad Bunny opened the briefcase of his microphone, but it was just an announcement that he has a 2022 tour, and it announced the tour dates and said tickets are going on sale soon. So, I think it was for like the spring and summer of 2022. So he still doesn't have anything for the rest of this year. So I don't know how much prep he needs to do, but I wouldn't be shocked if Bad Bunny sticks around for a bit.
Yeah.
Or if he doesn't stick around, maybe comes back at like SummerSlam.
Yeah. I think with most of the U.S. not seeming to be opening up fully, at least until the summer, I don't think we're going to see any major concerts here. I know that there's already been a few music festivals announced for the late summer and fall, but I don't think Bad Bunny is on any of them. And I know that at least in Europe, a lot of shows are getting canceled and pushed back till next year already. So it definitely seems like we're probably, at least most of America, most of the bigger areas in the world are going to at least be without full big blown concerts until either end of this year or early next year.
Yeah, I would at least hope so.
Yeah. So I'm perfectly fine with Bad Bunny sticking around. Yes, as long as as long as Damian Priest isn't just gonna be lopped in with him forever as just his best friend.
I mean, hey man, they have good chemistry together, so I'm fine with them still working together. And if he's just doing another like tag match, then sure, they can tag against somebody at SummerSlam. After this, we had our Nigerian drum fight. Yeah, sorry. For the Intercontinental Championship, Big E was out first. He had Wale perform him to the ring. This was a really good entrance. Wale sounded great. Out of our three musical performances of the night, this was the best one by far.
Yeah, I also, again, Wale is a fan of wrestling, and he's a friend of Big E and the New Day. And you could see they were vibing together, which I thought was great.
Yeah, the crowd ate this up too, and I thought Big E just looked like a main event talent with this one.
I also think it was interesting. I think this is probably the first time I've seen gear other than Lesnar that has like a sponsorship on it.
Yeah, like branding on it, yeah.
But to be fair, it was for I think it was Feeding Tampa. Or it was some sort of feeding.
It was like a charity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool on him. I thought the gear looked really nice.
Yeah, and again, I thought the gear, the entrance, and everything, and the reaction from the crowd, he felt like he was like a main eventer. Yeah. So you love to see it. Apollo Crews came out. He has a giant stick thing. I don't know what that's supposed to be. I guess it's like the King's Scepter or something. Sure.
I don't watch the product.
I would say
I know that he comes out with it.
Yeah. I would say the match started off pretty strong. With they went really hard with like kendo stick shots to start out. Like they were beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, that was a great spot.
There's a really good spot from Apollo Crews, who had a Death Valley driver on the apron. Big E did his big like suicide spear through the ropes. That looked really good.
But I think the cooler part about this was that like there wasn't like a table or anything to catch them, so it looked a lot more devastating than
agreed.
It normally does.
Eventually, things kind of slowed down a little bit. This wasn't too long, but it slowed down a little bit as Crews took control. He got Big E on a table and went for a top rope splash. Big E rolled off. Immediately got Apollo into the big ending. He hits it. And as he's going to pin him, who hits the ring but Dabba-Kato, formerly known as Babatunde, and now formerly known as Dabba-Kato. Commentary act shocked. They had no idea who this man was, despite him being a Raw superstar, despite him being featured prominently on Raw Underground. He chokeslammed Big E. Apollo Crews pins Big E and wins the Intercontinental Championship. As I noted to our group here when we were watching WrestleMania earlier today, it was noted by PW Insider that WWE had filed the trademark for the name Commander Aziz.
I thought it was General Aziz.
General Aziz, sorry. General Aziz. And so I'm assuming, one would have to assume that that is what they are renaming this man. And so
yeah, he was wearing military garb.
So Apollo Crews now has a heavy in the former Babatunde, former Dabakato, in the form of General Aziz. I thought the match they had, again, it was only 6 minutes and 50 seconds. The match prior to the table spot and then the big ending with the run-in, I thought it was pretty solid. It was, if they had gotten like 10 minutes to just go and have like a good like street fight, I thought this would have been solid. But yeah, the ending really took the wind out of this.
I mean, I thought that up until they started basically playing with the drums and attacking each other with drums and hitting the drums, I thought it was a good match. I thought the spear spot was really, really good. And then I kind of lost interest in this match. I don't care about Dabakato, even though
I don't think anybody does.
I love talking about Babatunde. I will always love talking about Babatunde for no apparent reason other than I really like his name and that he showed up at the Greatest Royal Rumble and nobody knew who he was. Yeah. I don't think this gets... this clearly got a lot of heat on them. So, good, I guess, for them. But I don't know if this is like a meaning, like a faction that I'm like, oh man, this is fearsome. We gotta look out for them in the future.
I'm interested in like if they're gonna add another person. I don't know who else you would add.
The only person I think you do is if you're going like real, like as you pointed it, like a new generation of the League of Nations, or not League, Nation. Mace.
Maybe
He's got absolutely he's got nothing going on. Keith.
I have no idea what's going on with Keith Lee.
Ricochet, just to give him something. I don't know.
I have no idea. I guess time will tell. Yeah. It might not be a faction. It might just be these two. It might just be Apollo with General Aziz as his like heavy.
Yeah, I guess.
We got our Hall of Fame thing where they brought everybody out. Rob Van Dam, Molly Holly, Eric Bischoff, The Great Khali, Rich Herring for the Warrior Award, and Kane, Ozzy Osbourne. They just had his name like they did for Shatner last night. And yeah, that was that.
Hey man, I've got to say that it feels weird that we're probably done with Kane because Kane came out. He said, "Can I do this one more time?" He did the fire, so I guess we are done with Kane. I guess Kane's done.
I hope so. The last couple of times he's appeared, he did not look very good.
I do have to say, I think it's very fitting that his final time in ring was the Royal Rumble, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely the way to go
that's
for him.
his, yeah.
That's basically his match for how long of his career it was. He never won it, but the eliminations.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I think it's weird that he never won that, but he won a Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Considering but hey, yeah, he had a great career. RVD, I'm still shocked he never came back for one final run in WWE. Maybe he does, even though he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know. He doesn't seem very interested in wrestling anymore.
Yeah, he might just be ready to hang it up.
And he's been very vocal. Like when he was in Impact, his final run, he did do interviews saying like he's not a fan of wrestling. Like he just does it because he's good at it, and like the fans like him. So yeah. Interesting. I think the most interesting part about this whole thing was the Great Khali was not there for the Hall of Fame ceremony, which they taped over a whole week. But he was able to get there for the or for this. That's weird.
I mean, he might have just been like, if he flew in from India, he might have like had like self quarantined or something.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Molly Holly definitely deserves it. I still think that Eric, what's his name, Herring,
Rich Herring.
Rich Herring, whatever. I think a lot of people are still miffed that Shad from Crime Time did not get this award, considering how he passed.
I think he'll get it next year. I think they would want to give that one in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I agree. The only other thing that I could think of is like that they wanted him and JTG to go in together, but there's no way Crime Time is a Hall of Fame caliber tag
Dude,
team.
I have no idea. There's a bunch of people in the Hall of Fame that aren't worth
I
it.
don't think Crime Time ever won a title though.
You're asking the wrong person. That was before me.
Okay, but yeah. Other than that, I didn't realize how many times Ozzy appeared in WWE and WCW or like other wrestling stuff. So that was news to me when he got announced.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that. After this, we got Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley had a special entrance. She had Ash Costello of New Year's Day, who does the vocals for her theme song, playing her out. I thought this was not a good performance.
Yeah, so, again, I will point this out, that this is the same thing that happened for Miz and Morrison's entrance. They decided to play over top of them the regular song, so we were getting double the feed, and Ash's vocals are much harsher and much more edited and have effects on them during the song. And that was playing over her, who for some reason decided not to do screams or anything for this performance, which just felt weird. It felt like this was a clean version of a song. The thing it reminded me of is on Guitar, like the old Guitar Heroes, when there were like metalcore, deathcore songs on it. They'd have the artist re-record it completely clean. Like there's a few Killswitch Engage songs which are like very heavy screams. They redid it just for Guitar Hero, where it was all clean vocals. That's what this sounded like tonight, and it wasn't great.
Yeah. I didn't think she had a good vocal performance. I didn't think she sounded very good.
It's fair.
Anywho, I thought this was a solid match. I don't think it was on par with Bianca and Sasha from last night. I think that one was by far the better women's match.
Yeah.
But I thought Asuka and Rhea had good chemistry,
Yes.
which was good. They worked a pretty aggressive style here. The biggest spot from Asuka was a jumping DDT off the edge of the apron to the floor. That looked really good. And then the story of the match was basically just Rhea there was no real near fall here or anything. There was some submission attempts throughout, but there was never like a big like 2-fall or anything. Rhea just eventually won with one Riptide.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked at that. I think they did play off it enough about like how Asuka's never wrestled against Rhea, so she doesn't know her style. That you can be like, okay, well, she wasn't ready for the Riptide. I thought this was a pretty strong match. I don't think it was as good as Charlotte versus Rhea last year. But I think the right person won.
I would agree.
As of right now, depending on where they go with the Raw Women's Championship. Like, if Charlotte comes back and is immediately put into the title picture, and for some goddamn reason they decide to take the title off of Rhea via Charlotte, no, this wasn't the time for it. I think that you probably should have done Asuka wins, Charlotte takes it off Asuka, and then Rhea takes it off Charlotte.
I don't think Charlotte will win now. I think she'll probably win it back sometime later this year. I think most likely you're headed for a triple threat between the two of them. Or the three of them, sorry.
Between Asuka...
Asuka, Rhea, and Charlotte.
And then the other thing is, does Becky come back?
Yeah,
because
I guess
if Becky comes back, I think she's automatically put in that title picture.
Well, as she should be.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. Anywho, I thought this was a solid match.
Yeah.
Not as good as Sheamus and Riddle or Owens and Zayn for me personally, but I thought it was pretty good.
I would agree.
After this, we got Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan for a third time this night, baby. And they came out to thank the audience for watching at home and thanking the crowd for being there in attendance. Bayley then comes out to interrupt them, and she asks for her pyro, and it does go off. Bayley said that she carried the hosting duties for the night, and she basically just started berating Titus and Hogan until everybody... This is where I think everybody assumed Becky Lynch was coming out. But no, we got the Bella Twins. Nikki and Brie come out. And Bayley called them the twin idiots, and to Nikki she said John Cena isn't here. Nikki slapped Bayley, and the both of them just beat her up and like tossed her slightly down the ramp. And Titus said "Ding dong goodbye," and their music played, I think, and then
and they started
the two
dancing.
of them, Hogan and Titus, started dancing on the stage as the crowd booed. The crowd very clearly wanted Becky Lynch, and this was not Becky Lynch. If this is leading to Bayley and Nikki Bella in a singles match, I won't be too upset, because I've always liked Nikki Bella as a singles wrestler.
Agreed.
But I don't really think this was the way to do this.
No.
Because I think everybody was expecting a Becky appearance, especially since this came so late in the show. And similar to like WrestleMania 35, they had the segment where Elias came out for a surprise thing, and then Cena showed up as Thugonomics Cena, which got a big pop. I think everybody was expecting it to be Becky. Even if this wasn't her official like return to the ring, it would have been a nice moment for her to take down Bayley.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case.
Lead to something.
Yeah.
If this ends up leading to absolutely nothing,
I mean, this was already horrible. So
yeah.
I feel sorry for Bayley. Bayley deserves something better.
Yeah, I will continue to say that I like the Bellas have been very vocal that they want one they think they can do one final run, and that they want the tag titles because they never had a shot at them, and like they're basically one of the only like actual tag teams that that they've had as women's other than like Lay Cool that were like established. Which and like Nikki can still go. Brie probably has never been able to go very well.
Hey, she had that match with Stephanie.
Yeah, that's a singles match. And yeah, I would think that it would give like a bigger name to the tag titles, and you could give like a future team something to care about, but like nobody cares about these titles, and I think it's too late to save them.
I would probably agree with that.
And I think that's the issue. Like me and Angela are very vocal about this with the Knockouts tag championships in Impact. That there's just not enough people on the roster to keep them afloat, and I think you can see that in WWE specifically, with them deciding that they want to run a main roster one where you have basically one or two teams that are actually established in the Riot Squad and Dana and Mandy, apparently. And then just kind of throw together the rest of the teams. Like that's not how you make a successful division. And yeah, I don't think that the Bellas coming back for a tag run would help that division in any way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
That's fair.
We got the announcement that the next pay-per-view is going to be Backlash, and it's officially dubbed Wrestlemania Backlash. It's the Backlash logo with WrestleMania's logo slapped right on top of it.
That's not good.
To be fair, Backlash makes sense as the post-Mania show instead of Money in the Bank. Backlash, you should, if you're not doing Payback or anything, Backlash makes 100% sense for being like the follow-up to Mania.
Yes, but at the same time, it's over a month away.
Okay,
So
but still, like in like if you're going like just in terms of like storyline wise, it just makes
yeah,
sense.
no. Yes, with the name, yes, a
Well, no,
Backlash.
just in booking as well, because it's probably going to have some WrestleMania rematches, so it makes more sense to do it on Backlash than Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
So
but again, I think the name WrestleMania Backlash is a very bad name of the pay-per-view.
I don't disagree.
Because that makes it seem like it's going to be WrestleMania quality stuff, and I know for a fact it's not going to be a WrestleMania quality show.
Hey, man, maybe you're going to get something with The Fiend and Randy Orton, so
No.
you might get that quality.
No, nobody wants that.
Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship is the main event. Edge comes out to a hero's welcome, Daniel Bryan as well, and Reigns comes out and makes the people wait. His music plays for quite a while until him, Heyman, and Jey Uso walk out very slowly as the boos rain down on them. This was
Hold
phenomenal.
on. Before we go any further, this had the worst AR of the night.
Of the night, yes. I was going to say of the night, yes.
For a person, probably of the weekend.
No, Cesaro still, I think. At the
Oh
worst.
yes, yeah, you're right. The only other thing that rivals it is them randomly throwing on a ghost ship.
Oh yeah, there was randomly I forget when it was on this show, but they randomly cut to like above the stadium like an AR ghost ship, and Corey Graves said a quote from one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and there was no explanation, and it served no purpose.
Yeah.
So
That was they did not have, at least tonight, from video of tonight, they did not have the damn skeleton with the sword. They had the WrestleMania logo above. They did show the skeleton with the sword from video packages from the night before, but they did not have like the skeleton with the sword that was basically as big as the entire stadium show up throughout the night. Like
no, it was there once.
Oh, it did? I didn't notice it.
It was there once during the shows of the night.
Oh, good.
It was not multiple times like last night, but it was there.
But this, as I said, had the worst one of the night, which was just a very large Roman Reigns.
Well, no, it was like a bronze,
yeah,
it was like a bronze
statue.
or gold statue of Roman Reigns that looked awful. I feel like he's had these before, where they've given him like statue looking AR for Mania. Yeah, it never looks good.
I don't even think it's from like just Mania. I feel like it's just big matches.
Yeah, it never looks good. Anyway,
the only other real bad offender tonight, I think Asuka's with the multiple masks just on top of each other.
Absolutely,
was kind of bad.
You're missing the worst one.
Oh,
Alexa Bliss and yeah.
I was gonna say Matt Riddle's seagulls.
No, well, I mean that, yeah, but I mean we knew that was coming just from Raw where he got birds. But I was gonna say Alexa Bliss is like doll head.
The doll head that they didn't show fully.
Yeah,
that's the best part about it. Like they
weird.
Clearly rendered something on the right side. They never showed it.
Yeah, I have no idea. Anywho, the triple threat for the Universal title. This was phenomenal. I thought this was the match of the weekend for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
This was outstanding. Again, this was 21 minutes 41 seconds, and for basically the entirety, they were working their asses off, all three of them. Immediately, Bryan gets taken out and goes to the floor. Jey Uso gets involved heavily, hits Bryan with a super kick, slams him into the steps. Jey hits a super kick on Edge on the floor. And eventually, Edge takes him out with a DDT outside, and the medical team has to take care of Jey as they get him out of there. We assumed that this was going to set up the return of Jimmy Uso, because you take Jey out, and Jimmy could come back in, but that was not the case. So we were wrong on that one.
Yeah, we were talking about Jimmy They're like, when's Jimmy coming back? I looked it up. Paul Heyman, apparently on Talking Smack, revealed that almost a month ago or over a month ago, that Jimmy has been cleared and is ready to come back and help the head of the table in the near future. So I assumed, oh, well, Jimmy Uso is going to show up, maybe. I didn't think that through when I said no to No Surprise Returns, because I honestly thought that Jimmy Uso had been back for months. I didn't realize he was still off TV until today.
Sure. So as this is going on, eventually it comes down to Edge and Bryan in the ring as Reigns is on the floor. Bryan goes for a suicide dive onto Roman, and Roman catches him with a belly-to-belly on the floor. Then it goes to Edge and Roman in the ring. Roman goes for the Superman punch. Edge countered it with a DDT. Edge set up for his spear. Roman caught him with a Superman punch. Then both of them went for a spear at the same time, and obviously that doesn't work. Neither of them hit it, and they took each other out. I thought that was a really cool spot.
Yeah.
Bryan
Angelo pointed out that the only time that he's ever seen that before was Batista and Edge on a random episode of Raw over a decade ago. So thank you, Angelo, for watching Raw over a decade ago.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really cool spot. That was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I thought it looked phenomenal.
Yeah. Bryan gets back in the ring at this point and starts doing the yes kicks to Reigns and Edge. He
sold it like champs.
Yeah, Edge gets caught with the running knee. Bryan hits a couple stomps on Reigns, and then he gets the yes lock onto Reigns. Edge breaks it up pretty late. Then we get Reigns powerbombing Daniel Bryan through the announcer's table, and Reigns was standing on the steps, and a spear out of nowhere from Edge on the floor. Really good stuff there. Back inside the ring, Edge gets Reigns into the crossface, and Edge gets two chairs. He drops one of them and brings another one into the ring. Reigns yanks it from him, and the chair falls apart. And there's just a piece of the chair in the ring. So it's very clearly a gimmick chair. And eventually Edge gets him into the crossface. And then as he has it locked in, he grabs the piece of the chair. It was like one of the legs that fell off, and puts it in Roman's mouth. This was a great visual. And before Reigns can tap out, Bryan comes in and applies the yes lock. So Reigns is locked into the crossface and the yes lock from both guys. And it has been brought up, there is video you can see, that before Bryan officially gets his locked in, there is a subtle tap from Roman Reigns tapping on Edge's leg. So I would have to assume that this is going to get brought back for a rematch, and we'll talk about this at the end. But Bryan and Edge then try to get each other off of Roman by hitting headbutts to each other. This was just brutal. Looked really good between the two of them. Eventually they let go.
You made a joke that what makes sense. Have the guy who has had a career-ending neck injury and a guy who had career-ending head injuries. What should they do to be super safe? Attack each other with headbutts for quite some time.
Yep. Bryan gets up, he takes advantage of Edge, and he grabs his arms and starts stomping on his shoulder. He sets up for the running knee, gets caught with a spear. Edge then catches Reigns with a spear, and we get a great near fall here with Edge's spear, and Bryan yanks the referee out as at 2.9. Edge gets a chair and just goes to town on both guys. He gets the chairs underneath both Bryan and Reigns, and he hits a concerto on Bryan, and before he can do it to Roman, Jey Uso makes his triumphant return here, and he goes to take out Edge. He eats a spear and gets a bunch of chair shots from Edge. Reigns comes back and he takes Edge down with a spear, and I thought he was putting him in his the submission that Reigns has been doing, but no. He drags Edge's lifeless body, puts him...
He does another concerto to Edge.
Oh, did he?
Yep. But they didn't show the hit. They just showed above, which
Gotcha.
was poor. Then the
Um,
replay they showed they're like he completely missed the chair.
Gotcha. Um, and he drags Edge's lifeless body on top of Bryan, and he pins Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time. This was such a ballsy fucking finish to do at WrestleMania, and I have to give WWE props for this one.
Yeah,
To have Roman Reigns, your top heel at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns, the guy who consistently was booed at WrestleMania for the wrong reasons, comes into WrestleMania after having the run of his life, is in a match with Edge and Daniel Bryan. Edge coming off of his big Royal Rumble win where he went from number 1 to 30, and Bryan saying that this is most likely his last WrestleMania. And they have Roman pin them both at the exact same time. That is a ballsy move. I think it's an iconic ending. Obviously, the crowd booed the shit out of it, as they should. Like, Roman's a heel. But I thought this was a ballsy decision. I think it's going to make for like an iconic moment in like WWE history where Roman pins Bryan and Edge at the same time in the main event of Mania.
yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thought the ending was great. I think the interesting point is that you can make is normally when you pin two people, normally they're not like stacked on top of each other like that. A lot of the times you have them laying out flat, or they're like stacked flat on each other, like across. Like I can't remember many times where you have them like looking like Edge looks like he is visually pinning Daniel Bryan, and then Roman is pinning Edge, and me and Angelo and Sam all agreed that like we didn't think that looked like how you normally do double pins like that. So we said, oh well, Edge can technically come back and be like, hey, technically I pinned Daniel Bryan. But that was before we found out about the tap. I think this was a fantastic main event. I think this is a perfect way to end a Mania. And anybody who is like, oh, well, they should have sent us home happy. I'm happy that they did this. I chose Edge, but I think that you can do a lot more with Edge chasing and like going further and further insane, because he's starting to go there. I think you keep on going and pushing him to the limit would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I think last night was you got the big happy babyface win. I think having 2 nights of Mania allows for more interesting booking decisions. I think because you can have like one night where the big babyface wins in the main event, and the other night you can have the heel win, or you can do two babyface wins. You can do more unpredictable things. I think going forward. So I think it'll be interesting to see if WWE keeps doing 2 night manias next year. It's not officially announced what it is. It just says, I think it just says April 2022. I don't know if they've announced a regular date. I don't think they have. So
Correct.
we'll see. If they are going to go back to one night, I think all I would say is cut down on some of the matches.
I think they'll go 2 nights, and my reason for the future, and the reason I think that is because I think they realize that they can make a buku bucks, being able to sell out 2 nights of 100,000 plus venues
I don't know
if they think they can do it.
Yeah, they would need some big cards to do 2 night 100,000.
Yeah. I just don't. I think that there's like no matter what Mania, I feel like Mania will sell out no matter what, because there are still a lot of wrestling fans who will do it.
I don't know if you're selling out, like, you would have to sell 200,000 tickets.
Yeah, but like if you have that many like the amount of people that travel, because I'm assuming next year will be fully 100% back to normal, because one, it's Texas, and two, it feels like we're getting closer and closer to being able to be open back up, and next year you'll have those international fans who haven't been able to come to a WrestleMania for 2 years.
Yeah,
So
I think next year, next year
100%
you have
they
a
can.
good. Yeah, next year you have a good chance. The one in LA, you really need to put a strong card together.
Yeah, and I think they will. I'm pretty sure that the LA one cannot hold 100,000 people.
Okay. Um.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. The SoFi Stadium, right? It's a
Yeah.
new one. Um, because they still haven't finished building it. I don't think. Um. Okay, so apparently for Mania, they've already announced that the holding will be 100,240.
Exactly.
They also claim that they can. So for football, it's 70,000, but for the Super Bowl, when they get the Super Bowl, they've already announced it'll be 100,240, which I don't know how you're getting an extra 30,000 people
I have no
in
idea, dude.
there, but yeah.
Regardless, I think the point is that next year you probably have a good chance just because of people wanting to go. That no matter what the card is, you'll get it. But and you'll always have people that will always go. But to sell out 2 nights, if you're doing it like that, of like a full stadium, fully open, that you would need a proper like A+ card for that. I
Yeah.
think you would need if and with it being dubbed Hollywood, you would need Cena and The Rock. I think one for each night.
Yeah, I would say so. I'd throw out Batista, but I think Batista is officially done.
I think Batista's done. I think those will probably be the retirement matches for Cena and The Rock. I think.
That's fine with me. I wouldn't be mad though if like you had Batista as like a host of Mania or
Yeah,
something.
no, absolutely. I think Batista being there makes 100% sense.
I think I think the Miz gets a big match because he's basically Mr. Hollywood in WWE's eyes.
That's
And
I don't
I
know.
think that's where we get Roman and Rock.
Yeah, I think that's safe. I don't know if the Miz is going to be somebody that they're prioritizing for that. That's 2 years away, and the Miz is not a priority now.
Yeah.
So
But you can throw him up against like a celebrity or
I guess
something like that.
Sure. Anyway, I would give Night 2 of Mania, overall, I'd give it a thumbs up. That first hour was some awful wrestling, but the show bounced back pretty strong after that.
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up as well. I did feel like towards the end of the night, I definitely felt like the drain of like all this wrestling from the weekend starting to come in. Not as bad as like the one night
Past
manias
manias,
of
yeah.
8 hours, but
Yeah.
it definitely was starting to draw just weigh on me. Like that, we just watched basically 9.5 hours of wrestling, basically
Plus Hardcore
in 2
Justice.
nights. That's why I said 9.5.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
3. I think it was like 3 hours each night of Mania, and I feel like Hardcore Justice went 3 hours or 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't, and I'm overselling it.
Fair. I am interested to see where the SmackDown title picture goes, because obviously you can go back to Edge and Roman having a singles match at Backlash, or
Another triple
you
threat.
just gave Cesaro a huge singles win at WrestleMania. They could do Cesaro and Reigns.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think SmackDown definitely is the more intriguing show. We don't watch, but if I was going to watch something, I'd choose SmackDown overall any day of the week.
Yeah. I think the other thing you can do, if you really, I was gonna say you could throw Cesaro to Apollo and have, but you're not taking the belt off Apollo that quickly.
Yeah, they just gave him like a big heavy guy. I think that'll take some time before he drops it.
Yeah. I still think the Big E could be in line for a big title shot at SummerSlam.
I think Big E's getting Money in the Bank. I think that would be my bet.
That'd be great.
I think that makes the most sense.
That would be great.
If I was picking somebody now, I would probably say Big E for that.
Yeah.
If they don't do Edge and Roman again, I think Edge might be another pick that you could give for Money in the Bank. Which again, not the best thing because Money in the Bank should be used for like future stars. But if it's like Edge and he uses it as like a big heel turn thing eventually, then I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I always say that I feel like the heels normally have the better runs with the Money in the Bank. I just thoroughly enjoy them more.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a time to put it on Big E and have a good face run with Money in the Bank.
Yeah, because the last face run was god awful. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Big E would be somebody. I'll say it a million times. Kofi would be great.
I don't think I think Kofi and Xavier are going to continue
Yeah,
the Raw
I know.
tag titles just because there's no other teams on Raw.
Yeah. Cesaro would be great if you're not going to push him to it. Seth could be really fun, again, especially with him basically being an insane individual at this point. The people I want as far away from this Money in the Bank as possible, The Fiend, Randy Orton, and Jackson Riker, Elias, and King Corbin. Get them as far away as possible.
I don't think anybody expects Jackson Riker and Elias to be near Money in the Bank.
I don't know. If you just need random mid-card heels.
I think they have enough people that they can get a good Money in the Bank lineup.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to go to them.
If for some reason the Fiend is in a Money in the Bank, nope.
I don't think that. I have no idea what they're going to do with the Fiend for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
No idea.
I can't wait for people to be like, oh, well, now we can get the Fiend versus Alexa. Please no.
I honestly, I guess I'm kind of intrigued by what they're going to do with the Fiend because I have no idea where this character goes.
I'm not because this is.
I'm not intrigued. I'm not intrigued that I want to see it. I'm just intrigued, from a booking standpoint. Like, where can they go?
Yeah.
So that's more of what I want to say.
Yeah, to me, it feels like the Fiend has been once and for all ruined.
Yeah, I don't know how he comes back from this. So,
and that sucks for Bray because we here at the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast are huge Bray fans.
Yeah. Anywho, that's going to do it for our WrestleMania coverage. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you missed out on our Night 1 review, you can find it on the streaming services listed in the comments, or you can go to YouTube, which is also or not the comments, the description. The YouTube link is in the episode description. So if you want to listen to it on YouTube or a streaming service, you can go ahead and do that. Be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. We'll be back on Wednesday with our review for AEW Dynamite, as they are running their first show unopposed now that NXT has moved to Tuesdays. And on Thursday, we'll be back with Ryan and Angelo's Impact Power Hour, with Ryan and Angelo talking about Hardcore Justice, as well as this week's episode of Impact. And yeah.
Yeah, also should be some more stuff coming out on the YouTube, as we did record some lovely stuff today.
Oh, yeah, there will be something eventually this week, probably.
And I guess you should say who lost the punishment, Pat, or the predictions.
Yeah, I won, obviously. It came down to Jake and Sam. It went to a tiebreaker, and Sam ended up losing the tiebreaker to Jake. So, unfortunately, Sam is another loser, and he will be doing his punishment. So,
yeah, Sam was also awarded today most L's of the 2020 to 2021 Manias. So starting off strong yet again.
Absolutely. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed Mania, and stay safe.
Yes, goodbye.